Hey, I'm Gopar, and I'm going to talk about how to get a raise when you're a junior engineer. Now, this is something that I wish someone would have taught me or told me about when I was a junior, but now I'm going to just lay it out here for future reference for anybody who finds it, and hopefully it is useful to you. Now, when you're a junior, it's kind of hard to ask for a raise because one, you might be shy, you're new, you don't know much, you might be insecure, because yeah, you're honestly just starting out your engineering career and you don't have much leeway to ask for a raise, at least in your head, or that's your thought process right now. And at the current moment, maybe you're just grateful to have a job, which is good. You have a job. That means that you have met some type of expectation and you're only going to grow from there as an engineer. But these thoughts shouldn't hold you back that, oh, I'm shy, I'm insecure, I don't have anything that going for me right now. So that shouldn't hold you back. The only thing that's holding you back is yourself and the way that you're thinking about it. But anyways, hopefully I'm going to say some few things and hopefully that changes. You're like, hey, yeah, you know what? I'll try these and then see where it goes. But yes, the first thing that I'm going to say is that when you get your salary or whatever salary you have right now, compare it to Glassdoor or any of those sites that have salary. Now, if you see that your salary is extremely low, make a note of that because that should not be your current situation unless the company heavily took advantage of you, which one, the company might not be that great then if they're doing that, and two, if they are decent, if it's a decent company and if they are underpaying you, then they should correct it. But anyways, go to those sites, write down your current salary and whatever salary that is on those sites, and kind of keep a spreadsheet or take note of it however you feel more comfortable with doing. Now, when you go into the sites, don't just put software engineer at X company because that will give you a very wide range. It will probably mix in junior with senior with mid-level. And the salary right there might show that I was like, hey, my salary is way off. I'm getting underpaid. No, you just didn't narrow it down. So if you want to have a higher success rate, you got to be specific. For example, if I'm an engineer at Google, I would probably, whatever position I am, let's say I'm junior, so I'm going to do junior engineer at Google that is in California, that is in, let's say, the Bay Area, and then go from there. Or if I'm remote, I just put Google Engineer, remote junior for whatever position you are. Back end, front end, all that. So that also takes into account. So as specific as you can be, that will definitely help you. Another thing that you can do is simply ask other engineers, other junior engineers that are in the company, whether in your team or someone else. Now, I've done this. I've always been open to talking about my salary in every company that I've been, and not everyone has been happy to talk about it. Some people I mentioned salary and they're just like, I didn't hear what you said. And other people are salary. I'm like, cool, how much you make? It's like, pretty open. So it just depends on the type of people that that you're talking to. Some of them might be open, some of them not, but at least in my case, they've all mainly been open to it. Some people have been like, nah, and that's okay. You got to respect that. Don't be pushy. That will not look well on you. But yeah, ask other engineers and see what they're getting paid at and what level and all that. So yeah, you might get some pretty good insight as to what the next income bracket you can expect, if any, if you reach the next level of your engineering career, for example, from junior to mid or mid from senior and all that. Another thing that you can do is document every single work that you do. For example, if you work in Jira has something called epics, which is just a collection of issues or projects, not issues, issue collection of tickets to create some type of feature request or fix some heavy bug or whatever. So if you are able to carry out those epics to completion, for example, they give you an epic to build something and you carry that from completion with minimal oversight, not a lot of headache from your peers that are managing you, then that will look very good. Document every single work. Now, this might be hard because as a junior, you might not be given an epic. You might be given tickets within an epic or just random tickets here and there that just spread you across and pull you in. That might be a little bit more difficult, but still write them down and everything that you complete, write it down and try to summarize everything, the value that you provided to the company. The company wants value out of it, and they're willing to pay more if you bring more value. So document everything, what value you provided, and that will be stronger for you. If you are able to get tickets or epics that are customer facing or brings the company more money by some feature or something, definitely write that down. That's going to be good for you. Write that down. Do not let that slip. The next way is to simply just ask your lead or your manager on how to improve or things that you can do to make yourself stand out to become a better engineer. So this one I do all of these I've done, and my approach is this. I talk to the lead and I say, hey, what projects or what things bother you? What projects don't you like doing? What tasks do you want to offload? Is there anything that you are doing that I can do to lighten your load? So if you can lighten someone else's load, that's going to make them happy and that's going to think good of you. And that will definitely help you out as well. For example, your manager, when you ask your manager for a raise, your manager is most likely going to ask your lead, and they'll be like, hey, has this person done a good job? Do you think they deserve a raise? What do you think about their performance? And the lead is like, oh yeah, this guy is very proactive. He takes whatever issues I have. He lightens my load. He's a good engineer. He does his best practices. He's learning. So yeah, he's doing good. So that will help. So go ahead and ask that to your lead or to your manager. Your manager might know some pain points as well. So also ask them as well. Now, another thing that you can do is some companies, not all, for example, startups most likely won't have this because they're small and not structured yet, is that some companies have engineering documentation, or I forget what it's called, like engineering docs of the levels. For example, there might be brackets for junior, mid, senior, staff, principal, and all those. And in those documents is described the exact workload or the expectations for that level. So if you're a junior and you're already meeting all the requirements that are inside the junior and are doing some things for the mid-level, then that's a very strong case because you can clearly state that, hey, based on the company documentation, on the company rules as to what I should be doing, I'm doing above and beyond already because I'm already on the next tier. I'm doing work from the next tier. That also helps immensely. These are the main ways for gathering data before you actually make a meeting with your manager. So now that you've done that, you've done your research, you've done all this, it's time to set up a meeting with your manager or whoever is in charge of you. So for this, I usually just send a Slack message or email if that works for you guys. I usually just say, hey, are you available sometime this week or next week to talk about my salary? Or actually, yes, to talk, are you available sometime this week or next week to have a meeting in which I want to talk about my current salary? Something like that. And just to give them a heads up, that way they're not blindsided when you go into the meeting and then you just start spewing all this, like, this is why I deserve a raise. And they were like, what? What's going on? Why am I being attacked? So yeah, just give them a heads up. That way they know. That way everybody can have some type of expectation. Now, once you set up the meeting, you're going to go and just pretty much present everything that you gathered, the salary data from the websites, all the work you've documented, anything that from the company documentation about the engineering levels if you're meeting or going beyond above those. So yeah, those will help you with your manager, and your manager should be taking notes, should be taking all this in, and after the meeting he should have a talk with HR or even his higher up manager. That's usually how it goes. Don't expect an answer right away. It might take a week or two. Just companies are very slow. I'm not sure if that's actually because they're slow or because they're just trying to stall before they can give you a raise. I don't know. It's one of those things, right? But yeah. So after this, two things can happen. Either you get the raise or you don't, right? So if you do get the raise, mission accomplished. You can close the video, go on with your life, live a happy life, pretty much. But if you did not get a raise, there's a few things you can do. One is if you didn't get the raise and you are highly underpaid or overworked, you might want to consider switching for another job. That will also help getting you a raise, hopefully. Uh, but ideally, you should not be working for any company that takes advantage of you. That's just horrible. That is horrific. I don't want that for anyone. You should not be used as free labor or overworked. You should get paid for what you do. But yes, so leaving that aside, that's not the issue, that the company just said no, there's a couple things you can do. One, you can say, if the manager comes back and tells you no, you might be able to kind of start negotiating. This might be a little bit of gray area depending on how comfortable you feel. But sometimes if they tell you no, you might be, okay, since I can't get a salary raise directly, is the company open to giving me something else, such as more PTO or more perks or a higher budget for something else? And that can also be the equivalent of a higher raise. Like if you get 2 extra PTO days, that means you got 2 extra days of just of vacation that you're getting paid to relax. So that's good. A small increment, but still, every little bit helps, right? You might be able to get more perks like that if that doesn't work. Another thing is that they might turn around and say, hey, we can't give you a direct salary, but we can give you something like stock options or more equity if you like. So if you are in that position that they say, hey, we'll give you more stock options, this is kind of where you have to decide for yourself if you want that. If the company is a public traded company and you're already going to make money off the stock options at the current price, then I'd say, it's up to you. If you think you'll make a decent amount of money out of it, then yeah, go. For example, if I get stock options from Google instead of getting a raise, that might be the equivalent, because Google's, you'll get it for cheap and you'll most likely make a profit of it. So yeah, that might work. But if you're in a startup and they say, hey, we can't give you a raise, but we give you more private equity or equity of some sort, and that one, I'm going to say probably it's not going to be a good deal. Because 1, you don't know if the startup was going to make it. 2, you don't know if they'll ever be public or if anybody ever wants to buy that equity off of you. You don't know. So it's I see equity as kind of like, let's give them fake money or make them feel as if they got value out of this without actually giving them. That's why startups give a lot or a decent amount of equity for engineers, because they don't want to pay you as much, but they want to make you feel as if you're still working for something, for that dream that your equity is worth millions in the future. And most likely it's not. Let's just be honest. Not every company is going to be worth billions of dollars, and most likely your equity is just going to go and never be used, and just the company's just going to suck it back up when you leave. That's what happened to some of the companies I've worked at. I never did anything with the equity. The company just sucked it back in and just became part of the pool that they can use to give to other engineers that they hire on. So yeah, personally, I say if they give me equity, I just say no. That doesn't help. But up to you. You might believe in the company deeply. Up to you. That's your own decision. I can't tell you yes or no. And finally, if none of that happens and they just tell you no, talk to your manager. Say, okay, now that we had the discussion, what goals, what milestones can I hit to prove that, or at least show that I am ready to get a salary or a title increase, bump to the next level. That will also help. Your manager should be able to give you something. If not, they might take a while, like a week or 2 to get something if they're just like a small startup or don't have anything structured. But ideally, they should get back. If not, you should ping them within 2 weeks and say, hey, I'm just following up. Is there anything that you think I can do, or about that meeting that we had? Is there anything? I'm just following up. I would like to know how I can, increase my chances, or how I can be a better asset to the company. Just all that. And hopefully, ideally, he should have some. If he doesn't, then I feel like the company is very scattered, very thin, and probably not the best place to be working at the moment. But sometimes, hey, that's sometimes startups, sometimes that's normal, depending on the startup. So yeah, that also varies. But yeah, those are the main ways on how to build a case to get a raise as a junior engineer. I still do all of these for every single job. I look at Glassdoor salary when I'm negotiating. Well, that's at the initial phase because I've learned, at least got to get something average. And then once I start working, I start documenting on the epics that I carry to completion, especially if they're customer facing. So that's beautiful. The customer facing are bringing in money. That really helps. And, taking at responsibilities from your lead or from somebody else to make you look like you, or to show that you can do more responsibilities and are able to take on more. So yeah, these are just things that you learn to do, or some along the way that you just take. Let's see what else. But yeah, that's pretty much sums it up. Yeah, let me know if there are any other things that you guys do to provide an argument as to how to get a raise or anything else, because I would be curious. I would like to also use that as well for myself, so next time I can get a raise on my yearly review or whenever. But yeah, thank you.